Response video to Holiday. Yeah. So anyway, just I guess it'll be a video about human communication in the context of meaningful philosophical conversation. I mean, it's not conversation about whether we should have blueberry pie or apple pie. It's a conversation about the destiny of all sentient life on planet Earth. It's about as serious, should have to be anyway, as you can get, and the welfare of many people would be at stake. It's like debating whether, before 1930, what kind of progressive change the world needs. Whether it needs unification and this or that or the other thing. And so it's serious business, and this guy wants to cheat, in my opinion. Take shortcuts and pretend he's being fair and logical. And I think the only way to fix that crime, if that's what he's committed, is to call him on it. That's the way you fix it. You can't fix something that somebody's doing that's wrong unless you say something like, well, you're doing it wrong. Yeah, so you have to say that.
Okay, let's see what Inmendham has for me. In the old days, I used to watch things several times, make notes, make video responses, but it just gets so time consuming.
Yeah, well, see, that's the joke of it too. See, because there's in between ground. You can watch the video and take notes as you're watching the video once, and that'll work too. So you can modify. You don't have to do the extremes of nothing or too much. I'm choosing for this video to do the nothing, because I'm confident. I'm confident you're wrong. And I'm confident that I can show it, at least to the audience, if not you.
It's a little nuts, really. But it's not a bad system, this Inmendham system. From a practical point of view, certain precautions need to be taken
From a practical point of view. So it's, again, he's saying there's something wrong with the principle. Well, frankly, doing the right thing for the wrong reason isn't something I'm too happy with either. I mean, I certainly want the right thing to happen, so I'll accept people doing it for the wrong reason. But theoretically, I am a person who likes principle, and so yeah, I like the principles to be right too, and I'll defend the principles because I think you have to, if you're gonna have any give a damn. You have to think that it really matters that what you're arguing is well principled, and you have to clean up any accusations of impropriety.
As I criticise the method generally, but
I criticize the method generally, and by method he means the fundamental premises of the philosophy, which is you can dissect our basic construction and understand the components that have value. That you can look into the universe and say, hey, the moon's revolving around the Earth. Does the moon care? Does the moon feel? Are there any car accidents on the moon? I mean, you can figure out that it's of no real consequence until a sentient becomes involved, and then you have a philosophy based on that notion that the real value is this sensation thing, not the ambition thing.
I shall try to take some of those precautions here today.
And half of a day video. Yeah, really, probably no point.
How many videos does he say this in the early openings? No point.
Yeah, well, isn't it a truth? I mean, 4,000 videos to explain that suffering sucks and that human psychology is bullshit. I mean, it does seem like there's no point if it takes 4,000 videos to defend these simple premises. That selfishness be bad, okay? That the game is bigger than the individuals playing it, okay? I mean, fuck. So yeah, I think I have a right to say, oh, I'm going to attempt communication with another one of these assholes who is just so mired and stuck in the glue of archaic, traditional thinking.
Right. You know what I mean?
I would just sum up or something, or recharacterize the conversation, why it degrades. Again, my accusation to you, Hospital Day, is that you are the one who engages in the rude and aggressive argumentation that's completely unfounded. It's just...
You're going to qualify that, hopefully.
I qualified it, yeah. I qualified it in the video before that. I qualified it in that your accusation is vacuous. I don't need any more qualification than that. We've already had the conversation. The premises and the addition and the entire formula was placed before you. You made no you pointed out no critical failures in any one of the components. You just keep insisting that there is some other notion of value in the magic of life or some kind of crap like that. But you certainly haven't provided any evidence to justify the accusation that there is something arbitrary in the distinctions being made between suffering and pleasure.
Essentially a slander to somebody's philosophy to characterize it as, random or erroneous or arbitrary.
Well, let's think about this for a minute. I made a video. Oh, incidentally, look at this. Right? I talk about functions a lot, and waves in analysis with Gary. But if you like to behold infinity, for a second, what?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is sort of interesting, but you really aren't beholding infinity, though. I mean, obviously the computer's capacity, the computer does resolve to a non-infinite conclusion. It does stop making images because it doesn't have enough time to make them. That's the irony, right?
You can see is actually the true nature of a wave is just a time delay in updates. Okay, you see the wave propagating through this infinity.
Right, and time is distance. So, when something's moving at a constant, like the speed of light, so we can understand sort of that things moving at constants, time would be very significant.
Pictures. I think that's a good point. But yeah, back to put this on the other screen. Back to the questions at issue. Well, the first question is issue.
So, purpose, point of view, questions at issue. Yeah, it's okay. Information, data, facts, and it's this little circular reasoning thing. Probably shouldn't make it a circle. Then it'll look like it's a jerkin.
Did I degrade his whole entire philosophy?
You didn't show that chart in your videos, referencing my philosophy and using your belittlement rhetoric in referencing my philosophy. So I don't know what sense that makes, but yes, you took cheap shots, and I'm no longer obligated to, if you go into a boxing ring and you start biting people's ears and, trying to stick your thumb in their eye and, you know, the other guy doesn't really have an obligation anymore not to just kick you in the nuts.
No, I'll just, you know, randomly, pardon the
No, the accusation is it's not random at all. That you're just doing it out of convenience of your popular status, of your position. If you were a minority position, you wouldn't dare try to get away with just vacuous counter-argument. You'd know you'd have to do better than that. And that's all you're doing.
Tom, did I trash his philosophy without substantiating my claims?
Yes, there was no substantiation. You just kept saying the word arbitrary 7 million times, and you never pointed out what's arbitrary. You never said, well, they're making an arbitrary distinction between eating an apple and having chemotherapy. You didn't point out where the arbitrary is. You just said it's there. See, most of life we can't figure out what the right answer is. And everybody's supposed to believe that. And we've already had this conversation that no, the truth is in most cases it's all pretty much diagrammable what your probabilities are. And so I think that game is over. I think it was argued. We won. You're going to have to come up with some better bullets for your gun.
I mean, what are you, some kind of oversensitive?
Again, you're the one bitching and moaning because I threw it back in your face. So I don't, you know, I don't care. I'm just saying I'm going to defend against slanderous accusations. Okay, you slander the philosophy that I think is critical to the salvation of billions of suffering creatures. Yeah, I'm going to come back at you, fuckhead.
Philosopher here, that you can't have your philosophy scrutinized?
You didn't scrutinize it. You maligned it and slandered it. So again, you keep talking that you scrutinized something. Where was your scrutiny? I can go back to the 15 fucking videos over the goddamn asymmetry and you didn't even understand the argument.
And not only that, it's not your entire philosophy.
I mean, it's just idiotic to sit there and say, okay, it's not the idea of math. I'm just ruling out addition and subtraction.
As I pointed out in your video, you know, you started bringing up things which weren't even relevant to the video. I was poking and questioning and scrutinizing what...
Yeah, no, again, you didn't do any of that. You just slandered it with an accusation of arbitrary, as if there was some component of the fundamental philosophy that was making an arbitrary judgment. There is no arbitrary judgment. The argument I'm counter-argued you with is that your philosophy is full of the arbitrary judgments where you make a distinction between cute puppy and consumable pig. That's arbitrary. I mean, it's erroneous to logic. It's erroneous to facts. And it just has to do with some subjective, vacuous, erroneous, arbitrary bigotry.
An aspect of your philosophy, and that is, you know, the kind of utilitarian aspect of it.
Yeah, again, the entire mythology or methodology of it. Right, that you can find out what the bad things are, and you can find out what the good things are, and you can evaluate them using some sort of currency of logic. Find some other way to metaphor it. Yes, you can put these things on scales. They do have value weight. There is no infinite value, and there is no zero value, let's say, and that we can, if we really try, quantify and do the addition and come up with a final product, which by our philosophy is a negative number.
And the fact that any attempt to benchmark some kind of utilitarian scale of liking, of happiness, of pleasure, of utility, is inevitably going to be arbitrary.
Again, I mean, there's just no point in having a conversation, right? So again, 4,000 videos to say suffering sucks, and you still don't believe it. You still don't understand that we understand that, you know, having a steel rod shoved through my head would not be as good as having somebody, whatever, scrape the barnacles off my feet. I mean, you know, again, you know, to sit there and say that it is arbitrary when I am a sentient being and I clearly can feel good feelings and bad feelings, and tell me I don't have good feelings and I don't have bad feelings and it's arbitrary is idiotic. They're real experiences. They happen every fucking goddamn day, and there's nothing arbitrary about it.
That arbitrary by persons, arbitrary by groups of persons.
Again, you are the one I can find all the arbitrary distinctions where you are projecting value on things, projecting a perception of puppy that has nothing to do with logic, and a perception of piglet that has nothing to do with logic. So you're the one with the completely arbitrary, subjective bigotry, saying one is better than the other merely by tradition or some sort of natural dogma, and not much else. So again, it's your philosophy that is that I could demonstrate all the arbitrariness, whether you want to climb mountains or whether you want to drive fast in cars or whether you want to climb trees. I can find that every one of your ambitions is made out of arbitrary and erroneous and unsubstantive cause. It's an impulse created by conditioning and has absolutely nothing to do with logic. There is no connection between our ambitions and logic unless you're on a rescue mission of some kind. And we also know that most of the people on a rescue mission are on a rescue mission because they need to be on a rescue mission. That again, it is their ambition not because it's logical, but because they want their glory hunters, or they need to be useful. That again, the impetus for it, okay, has nothing to do with logical and disciplined analysis of the circumstance and their duty. It has only to do with what they want. So again, it is your philosophy that is vacuous of logical grounding.
And the only thing that can, this kind of strikes to the acceptance that there's something to be said for the anarchist. Yeah, they're actually onto something, but the
August, well, whatever. They're on to something. Yeah, we need Holiday to inform us of that.
They go too far.
Right, they go to the rational, logical conclusion, which is too far because it means you're going to malign my mountain climbing, or you're going to malign my throwing a javelin further than anybody's thrown one before. You're going to malign rainbow chasing and balloon chasing and other silly imbecilisms of ego-centered and ego-driven human beings. Yes, you're gonna malign the ego as not being a logical mechanism. Yeah, that's right. That's what we're gonna do. But that's going too far. Your ego is sacred.
There is a certain amount of personal freedoms needed, and
again, so what does that have to do? So ethics has something to do with personal. Ethics doesn't have to do with exchanges. I don't see how you could understand the word ethics and not understand that ethics has to have an interaction. It has to be commerce of value exchanges for there to be such a thing as ethics. It's like you can't have an economy if you're the only person in town. You can't have ethics if you're the only existor. So it's the interaction and the exchanges of value that are the fundament of it. So to talk about your measures of personal freedom in that context, where we know it's a bigger game than that, doesn't mean anything. You have to justify that personal freedom as being more likely to produce the goals being scored. If you're going to not be a team player, you have to be so good, okay, that you're better than the team. That you're better than working with the team. Somehow you're going to be better on your own. You're going to do better for the team by not being a team player. That's going to have to be your argument. And I don't think you have a hope in hell, so to speak, of making that argument. So you're the one under the scrutiny. Defend your right to personal indulgences that violate ethical mandates.
Established a certain amount of need to be free of other people's arbitrary judgments.
Well, it seems pretty arbitrary, your definition of how much of this personal stuff we're supposed to have. So again, you've again qualified it as arbitrary judgments. They're not arbitrary, they're perfectly defended, they're consistent with biological evidence, sociological evidence. So again, they're not arbitrary distinctions, they're not arbitrary judgments. Your judgments are arbitrary. Your judgments are completely personally manifested through convoluted psychology and have absolutely no connection to logical evaluation. You're the bigot. Bigot.
As I've said.
These are all, this strikes at the very core of the credibility of the philosophy, to use such a word. It's no better than calling it dogma or, some other kind of shit. So to say that you aren't provoking a hostile encounter is just absolute nonsense.
Oh, so your defense is provocation.
I'm not defending. Okay, I already made my video. I have no obligation to defend my right to kick in the balls some asshole who's trying to bite my ear and trip me and poke his glove in my eye and waste my fucking time. You show up as a fucking troll, essentially, and yeah, I just whap you with a baseball bat because you don't play by the rules. So until you want to show up and make a real argument, fuck you is what you're going to get. But the truth is, I gave you the arguments in the videos. Instead of wasting an entire video as you do, defending your, not even defending, just defending some sort of, I said arbitrary, isn't that all I have to do? I said arbitrary. I said arbitrary about 7,000 million times. Isn't that proof? If I say it enough times, if I say the word arbitrary enough times, haven't I proven it's arbitrary? That's all you did.
If somebody could, so what you're saying is, if anybody criticizes you.
So this is a fair cop again. So again, how does this glean any? You're expecting me to find this a respectable counter argument, that because I say I'm not going to waste my time, okay, trying to figure out whether I should have a switchblade in my sock or what tools I need to fight this asshole. I mean, you don't want to play by logical rules. You want to play by, I'll change the subject anytime I want to. So when I want to be logical, I'll be logical, and when I want to be subjective, I'll be subjective. I mean, you're the one playing the games with the rules.
That is provocation, and, I will strike down with furious vengeance those who oppose.
Yeah, and so what was the furious vengeance? I called you an asshole, and then I explained why you're a duplicitous asshole. Yeah, that's what I did, jackass. Okay, I pointed out that you're cheating in the fight, and then I pretty much kicked your ass in an honest way. That's what I did. And that's what I'm doing this video, and that's what I'll do in every fucking video. Because I'm not the one playing the game, shithead.
It's me. Come on. Screw up. You know.
I can do a whole bunch of laughing about. Oh, come on! You're resorting to the old laughing dodge. Oh, come on! You can't find a better dodge than that. I mean, you know, really, is that what you want to have a laugh at? A mocking laughter competition. Yeah, let's have a game show. Mocking laughter. Let's see who can just mockingly laugh at scientific theories. Let's put evolution on there. Let's mockingly laugh at it. Oh, we're related to minkies? Ha 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 ha. There. We're done being scientists and thinkers, right? Because we have mockingly laughed at it. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, sorry. No sale.
There's no need to debase conversation just because you're criticised.
Again, just because you're criticized. You're not criticizing, you're mocking and ridiculing and slandering. Okay, you are without foundation making an accusation of arbitrary. Prove you're arbitrary. Show me instances of this arbitrary. Not one isolated instance like, well, there's 27 people in an apartment building and there's 38 people out on the street. And, well, the people in the apartment building, there's a gas leak. And, well, there could be an explosion. And the 28 people could be explode out into the street and fall on the 36 people who are on the street. No, not one of those convoluted bullshit ones. But the everyday happens all the fucking time. Should I drink and drive? Should I, maybe build a nuclear power plant and save 15 cents by buying cheap Chinese batteries? Should I blah, 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 blah. Yeah, the real world is full of really easy ethical questions, and so this is all just a big pile of crap. Okay, and the real easiest ethical question is, should I be a life creator? Do I have a qualification? Do I pass a test? Do I know what the fuck I'm doing? Do I have a guaranteed purpose? Do I have any insurance against catastrophic failure? You can't see. Now, to call it arbitrary, to point out those very basic, sensible reasons why you might conclude, oh yeah, I'm not qualified to play God, I don't have control over the experiment, I don't have any insurance against catastrophic failure, and essentially I'm just going to be fucking goddamn Mangala if I go ahead and do this thing. And you're calling that arbitrary. Now, why shouldn't somebody with any kind of logical sensibility say, what the fuck are you talking about? There's nothing arbitrary in pointing out somebody's not qualified to do something. There's nothing arbitrary in pointing out you have no fucking insurance. There's nothing arbitrary in pointing out you have no fucking qualifications. Beyond nature giving you a fucking reproductive organ.
Yeah, that's not a criticism of your philosophy. A detailed, a pointed criticism.
Right, it's just a general slander. So, fuck you. I mean, this is just so stupid. You're just generally slandered. Without evidence, without any specific evidence, without any evidence, without any specific evidence, without any pointed evidence, without any reliable evidence, without any decent evidence, without any kind of evidence. You just slandered it. And then you expected everybody, me, to say, hey, what an insightful argument you just made. Yes, I get it. I'm wrong because you say so. Oh, yeah, right, I get that. No, I'm going to say, fuck you. Prove it, fathead.
Philosophy is not justification to debase the conversation. You're either...
well, again, the argument being clearly made is that you're the one debasing the conversation with vacant, unsupported accusations that are overtly offensive to anybody with any kind of 2 + 2 capacity.
Grown up here, or you're not, so I reject out of hand that one.
Yeah, you rejected. Yeah, well, go ahead. And as I'm pointing out, I reject thoroughly any obligation to respect the intellectual argument from "I said so." Yeah, I reject out of hand anybody coming to the philosophy table with "I say so." Fuck that, and you.
I can quickly reject that as having no moral substance, as warranting, you know, the debasement of the conversation.
So again, take no responsibility for your own actions and just keep saying, I didn't do anything wrong. Arbitrary is a perfectly good compliment for a philosophy. When you call a philosophy arbitrary or erroneous or nonsensical, you're doing somebody a favor. You're helping them out, especially if you provide no evidence of how it's nonsensical. You just say, because I say so. Yeah, that's a perfectly accepted philosophical tactic and argumentation. Dawkins does it all the time. He shows up and he goes, I say so.
In the context of the previous conversations, in which you haven't provided any alternative demonstration that any of the premises that went into the development of these arguments
read my recent video about how people change scales to try and win the argument. When somebody's talking about something detailed, they try to elevate to the big picture and say it's the wider context in which
he just went over how I was just making a general accusation, right? So he just did that. He just zoomed out and said, I wasn't making any specific arguments about any of your specific philosophical ideas. I was just making this general statement that it's arbitrary, kind of blah blah blah. I mean, fuck. How many times do I have to absolutely prove you a hypocrite before you just modify this a little bit? I mean, does every fucking argument have to be just layered and layered and layered and layered and layered in mountains of hypocrisy?
It warrants my trashing and debasing of conversation. And then when if you widen your scale, they'll zoom into the nitty gritty and say, the minutiae here is incorrect. It's just rhetorical tactics. The fact of the matter is,
it's not a rhetorical tactic. You're saying there's something arbitrary. I'm giving it an honest effort to say, okay, well, what the fuck is he talking about? He's making the general accusation of arbitrariness, and here when I analyze the philosophy, I can't find what he's where's the arbitrary? It's supposed to be so fucking glaring, then how come I can't find it?
I made a video talking about certain aspects of people's general unawareness, actually, of what it means and to indulge in opinions which are arbitrary.
Well, you were talking about me and my philosophy in the video, so now again, who's changed the focus of the telescope here, the beam of anal wart? You're changing its focus. You're now pretending I didn't mean to shoot you. I was aiming at the common moron who doesn't have a clue what philosophy is. I mean, please. I mean, come on. This is just so fucking duplicitous.
And I pointed out generally that this is a flaw within utilitarianism.
Yeah, you keep saying it. This is a flaw within utilitarianism, and yet there's no flaw in the idea of doing math, so the only thing you can criticize is the value distinctions being made for the variables. And again, you're just ambiguously saying all variable math is broken. And we're saying, no, we can pretty much nail these down to pretty narrow little blobs of probability, and there's absolutely no reason not to accept that as perfectly acceptable. We know the ranges, and that's good enough. About 5 and about 3 is good enough for the math we're doing.
There is no... If you want to trash me within the wider context...
I don't want to trash you. Again, I'm going to defend the integrity of the philosophy I've spent years thinking about, ripping to pieces daily, thinking over and over, all this introspection. Am I manipulating it for my own purposes? Am I doing this? Am I blah, blah, blah? What's the real argument? Blah, blah, blah. Is there some hope? Is there some reason? Is there some other context you can view this from? Is there any possibility that God could exist? No, I've done all this shit. All right, I've built it, and you're just sitting there taking a piss on it, okay, and saying I've washed it away with logic. Fuck you. Yeah, I'm going to sit there and put up a piss shield.
Next. Then you're entitled to make your video response and saying, I'm not going to respond to his points. I'm going to look at the...
You didn't make any goddamn points. That's the whole fucking point of my goddamn anger and voraciousness in this is that you're wasting my fucking time with a bunch of baby talk about arbitrary. There's no fucking, what am I going to do? What do I do? You didn't make a specific enough argument for me to make a counter argument. You just made a vacant, valueless accusation.
Mr. Hythaladay's video in a wider context. Then you bring people up to speed. But you don't get to indulge in poor intellectual standards and backward justify.
Well, again, you keep saying things. You keep making accusations that I say you have no evidence for. You keep saying things. Oh, the whole video was just a bunch of bad, dirty talk. Yeah, when the actual fact is 0.01% of the video was a fuck you. All right, the whole video was a counter argument. The whole video was an explanation of my position and why I will not accept your cheating in the argument. And you're just still ignoring all of that and pretending this is just like some, I just won't make a real argument. No, you won't make the real argument. I cannot argue with, you know, I can't box with somebody who's going to come into the ring and then just turn around and start farting in my direction. Okay, I'm not going to box a farter.
After the fact, after you've shown, you know, such childish behaviour, that's just not the way, you know.
Well, again, you're the one who showed up with a bag of, look, my anus smells like poo. I mean, you're the one who showed up with infantile nonsense, drivel, drool, as an argument.
It's going to work.
It's all flawed. You know, it can't be in any way discounted as not likely or founded reasonable premises. So you can hardly call something arbitrary that is premise. And the premise of
I called. I mean, what is this something? You're having a conversation.
Yeah, what is this something? Holy fuck.
And you're not even referencing the something.
Yeah, the something is the philosophy, jackass. Okay, you're the one who qualified it as being utilitarianism. Okay, I would say that that's not what I don't walk around calling myself a utilitarian on purpose, certainly. I mean, I'll accept titles when I have to accept them, just to give people something to pigeonhole. But you're the one who already defined what the subject is. The subject is utilitarianism, and you're saying it's arbitrary. I'm saying the utilitarianism that I have presented, that I have argued for, is not in any way arbitrary. It's been explained with biological evidence, sociological evidence, psychological evidence, and it certainly has been put in a nice, tied together, coherent, premised, logical package. Okay, and I'm saying to you, well, what part of the package do you say is arbitrary? What string, what thing on here are you saying is broken and therefore it's not a bicycle? Where is the third wheel? Where is the non-existent spoke?
Yeah. So how are we supposed to be sure that we're talking about the same thing here? You know, the something is in the context of my videos is utilitarianism and the problem of attaching meaningful value scales to such.
Yeah, well, and again, I have argued that we've already done this in numerous videos of attaching the value scales, that the fact is that if there's no need to create a need, no logical need, then creating need would be stupid. And, you know, although that kind of thing, we've made all these arguments, so what, you want to just start over again? And that's what my point is. What's the fucking point? We already did the argument. Why do you want to re-argue it again from your premise that, no, you're wrong, I say so?
Sure. Philosophical, ideological, you know, concept. So if you subscribe to it. And I detail exactly how it's arbitrary, and discuss that is inevitably the attaching of that scale is arbitrary. You've
You detailed it with what? Where was this fucking detail? You just claimed it again, and it doesn't exist. You detailed nothing. You pointed out not a single phrase or statement by me, a single premised argument, a single piece of the premised argument that has been made about human psychology, human biology, and the mechanism of life on planet Earth. You have pointed out no flaw in any premised statement I have made characterizing what this game we're playing is and what the rules of the game are in terms of value exchanges. None.
Asserted no premises in relation to the formation of scale. In fact,
well, again, the formation of scale is through my personal experience. There's no other. Yes, this is the only way we can learn what consciousness is by being consciousness. I've had the conversation. I have stated it in videos over and over again. That would be very difficult for a non-sentient to understand value, because a non-sentient hasn't experienced it, so he has no capacity to know what a harm is or what a pain or a pleasure is. Whether it's psychological or physical. So yes, we glean knowledge through our personal sentience. We are able to extrapolate that to the organisms in the world, and we can see much commonality or no commonality through perception. And we can make judgments that are fairly safe regarding, oh, I'm a mammal, it's a mammal. Yeah, I get that screaming thing when the brick falls on your paw.
Summarize your position as being often summarized, and I think I did in that video also, about the, oh, leave it, we all know roughly what's right and wrong, we can figure it out, you know, and you neglect, you know, the point which I make about that in concrete life, beyond the abstract, we have to make laws, and those laws have to be robust at dealing with the hard cases. I mean,
yeah, and where has there been any running from any of that? No running from it whatsoever. So again, where you're making this veiled accusation, there's not appreciation for the fact that you want to have legislation that is as wasteful of liberty as possible in accomplishing its task. There's a full understanding of that. But the bottom line is it has to accomplish the task. It has to achieve the goal. And you can only compromise so much in indulgences, you know, to the wishes and wants. I mean, practicality has to rule out. Again, I'm going to say it again. There's everything difficult about me personally having to sacrifice something. But the truth is, if, yes, you cut off my arm, and that means 1 million people in the future don't have their arm cut off, it seems pretty obvious that, yeah, I gotta bite the bullet on this one, logically. It's the rational, sensible thing to do. The logic is inescapable. There is no door you can open that says, here's your escape. You can get out of the obligation by just saying this mumbo-jumbo that I'm special, or something. Well, you can't. There is no door. There's no logical way to escape the obligation. And again, you're just calling that arbitrary, and I'm saying that's insanely unfair.
This is historically, this is how law is formed, unfortunately. We can't seem to reason ahead of time. You know, we have to learn by our mistakes.
Well, there's just absolutely no point in talking about the formulation of law when you're critiquing an individual philosophy held by an individual. So again, I have no responsibility to be accountable for the fucking imbecility of the human race who believes in gods and angels and all kinds of other crack shit. Okay, so again, this is not my obligation to explain why it's somehow difficult for the human race to have rational social policy when they're fucking irrational. I'm not. I would have no problem. Give me the fucking job of fucking universal dictator and I will have no problem doing the right fucking thing. Okay, because it is logically diagrammable. I can see it on a piece of goddamn paper. Okay, I don't need any personal bigotries or personal ambition. I just need a little bit of logic to understand how the game of this chess is played. And I do the appropriate thing by mechanical dissection of probability. Not complicated at fucking all. The fact that the human race is complicated may be a truth because they're idiots. But I have no responsibility to account for that when you're making an accusation that my philosophy is arbitrary, you motherfucking cunt. And you can't see that this is a goddamn, truly, incredibly bogus argument to be making, that somehow the fact that the human race can't get 2 + 2 right means that I can't do math. Fuck you. Alright, it's probably enough for this session. 46 minutes. So, yeah. We come back. 11 minutes we're at. So maybe we'll do a part 2. We'll see how it goes. Until next time.